Welcome back to another episode of In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, CEO of academia.edu, and I'm super excited you're tuning in today. We're diving into a topic that, honestly, touches everyone who uses computers, whether you realize it or not. Our subject is a systematic review paper titled Evidence Extraction and Analysis in Digital Disk Forensics by P. Bellisan. And as always, I want to remind you, I'm presenting this in a neutral way. You should engage, reflect, and come to your own conclusions as you listen. So, digital disk forensics. What's the big deal? Why should you care? Well, think about it. Every time you store a file, delete a photo, or use your device, traces are left behind. Digital disk forensics is the science of acquiring those traces, preserving them, and analyzing what actually happened on a storage device. That might mean recovering deleted evidence for law enforcement or figuring out what's going on after a data breach. This isn't just a techie's playground, it's foundational to everything from criminal justice to personal privacy. Now, P. Bellisan's paper takes a deep look at the major pillars of this field. First, what are the key frameworks and architectural ideas underpinning disk forensics? Second, how are recovery algorithms actually working to find lost data? And third, and this is a biggie, what does it take for digital evidence to actually stand up in court? Like, how do we know that a digital finding is valid, reproducible, and fair? It's not just about hacking around on computers. There are rules and real consequences here. Let's start with Pillar 1, the theoretical frameworks. Forensic imaging is this core operation where investigators create an exact bit-for-bit duplicate of a storage device. It sounds easy, but it's a little like baking a cake and having to guarantee mathematically that every crumb and sprinkle is identical in the copy. The paper explains that things like read errors, hardware failures, or sneaky anti-forensic tools mess with this process. Even the policies different tools use to handle such errors can impact what evidence survives and whether it can be trusted. So, if, say, the original hard drive has gone through a bunch of use or maybe deliberate tampering, you can't always get a perfect forensic copy. This means there's always uncertainty. And, yep, just to emphasize, I'm not endorsing this claim, just relaying what's in the research. All right, let's jump to the second pillar, recovery algorithms. This part is super cool. Imagine trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle, except, like, half the pieces are missing and you don't even know what the finished picture looks like. Digital forensics uses methods like file carving to find lost files by looking for special headers and footers, think of them as bookends, that mark where files start and end. But as files get fragmented, encrypted, or compressed, these methods start to break down. Sometimes the lost file is so scrambled or so random due to encryption that even the best algorithms are stumped. Bellisan talks about computational advances like the Aho-Korosik algorithm that helps speed up searches, and chunking work into parallel tasks so massive. Multi-terabyte drives become searchable in, well, not minutes, but not years either. But again, there are hard limits, like when hardware itself randomizes or erases data in ways you can't fight with software alone. That brings me to a little digression. This stuff about brute forcing a solution with more hardware always reminds me of early computer games where if something loaded slowly, you'd just hope for a faster computer and not, better software. We kind of still do that. Anyway, let's get back on track. So, the third pillar, judicial admissibility and the human element, the paper emphasizes just how much a human investigator's bias or the specific tools they use can shape the outcome. Someone analyzing the same drive with different tools, or even in a different mood, might pull out slightly different evidence. This is a real issue. If the algorithms or tools aren't open and peer-reviewed, there's a risk judges and juries might trust results that actually aren't reproducible. Bellisan highlights the chain of custody challenge, meaning you need to be able to track and explain every step from original evidence to final findings. Without that transparency, digital evidence could be thrown out, or worse, misinterpreted. Now, what does all this really mean for you? If you're someone who values your digital privacy, This research is a big reminder. Deleting files isn't enough. Digital traces can stick around, sometimes for years, but not always. So don't bank on digital storage as an infallible record or a black hole. If you're a professional working in law, security, or IT, you need to know your tool's limits and always document how you handled evidence. In wrapping up, Bellison's paper doesn't declare any absolute truth, and trusting science, I'm not going to either. Instead, it points to the boundaries, the unanswered questions, the places where technology, law, and human decision-making intersect. It's not about perfect results. It's about honesty, rigor, and continuous improvement. Thanks for spending this time with me on In Depth with Academia. Remember, research gives us a map, not the final destination. Until next time, keep asking questions and never assume the data tells the whole story.